Have you ever stopped mid-scroll, phone in hand, and wondered, why is it called Wi-Fi? It's a word we say a dozen times a day. What's the Wi-Fi password? Is the Wi-Fi down? It's the invisible lifeblood of our modern world, flowing through our homes, coffee shops, airports, and offices. It powers our work, our entertainment, our connections. Yet, for something so deeply embedded in our lives, its name is a complete mystery to most of us. For years, the story we've told ourselves, the one that seems so perfectly logical, is that Wi-Fi stands for Wireless Fidelity. It just makes sense, right? We had Hi-Fi for high-fidelity audio systems, so Wi-Fi for high-quality wireless data seems like a natural fit. It's a neat, tidy, satisfying answer. And I'm here today to tell you that it is completely, utterly wrong. The truth is far more fascinating. It's a story not of technical acronyms, but of marketing genius, corporate compromise, and a little bit of creative desperation. It's the story of how a meaningless word became one of the most recognized and valuable brands on the planet. So, grab your device, connect to that signal, and get ready to unravel the everyday mystery of what Wi-Fi really is. To truly understand where the name Wi-Fi came from, we need to travel back in time. Let's set the dial on our time machine to the late 1990s. The internet, powered by the screeching symphony of dial-up modems, was finally becoming a household utility. But it was a tethered world. Our digital lives were bound by the length of a physical cable snaking from a phone jack to our beige tower PCs. The dream of a truly wireless connection was still just that. A dream. But one that brilliant engineers around the globe were racing to make a reality. Imagine a world buzzing with innovation, but drowning in chaos. This was the dawn of wireless networking. Tech giants and ambitious startups were all building their own incredible versions of wireless technology. You had Lucent Technologies with a product called WaveLAN. Nokia was in the game. Symbol Technologies was a major player. Everyone had a piece of the puzzle. The problem? None of the pieces fit together. It was the digital equivalent of the Wild West. Every company was its own sheriff, with its own set of rules and its own proprietary system. If you bought a wireless card from one company, you had to buy a router from that exact same company. Your friend's laptop, with a card from a different brand, it might as well have been a brick. There was no guarantee of compatibility, no common language for these devices to speak. This created a massive barrier for consumers. Who would invest hundreds of dollars in this new, magical, wireless world if it meant being locked into one brand forever? It was confusing, it was expensive, and it was holding the entire industry back. The dream of a seamless, wireless future was being threatened by a digital Tower of Babel, where every device spoke a different language. Recognizing this impending disaster, a handful of visionary leaders from these rival companies decided to do something radical. In 1999, they put their competitive instincts aside and came together to form an alliance. They called themselves the Wireless Ethernet Compatibility Alliance, or WECA for short. Their mission was simple in concept, but revolutionary in practice: to create a single, unified standard that would allow any wireless device, from any manufacturer, to talk to any other. They weren't just building a product, they were building a foundation for an entire ecosystem. They were trying to bring law and order to the Wild West of wireless, ensuring that the future of connectivity would be open and accessible to everyone, not locked away in corporate silos. This alliance was the first critical step, a peace treaty that would pave the way for the wireless world we know today. So, our band of corporate rivals, now united under the WECA banner, had a noble goal. But to build this universal language for wireless devices, they couldn't just start from scratch. They needed a solid, technical blueprint, a set of rules so precise and robust that every engineer at every company could follow it to the letter. Luckily, that blueprint already existed, forged in the halls of one of the most important but least known organizations in the tech world: the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or the IEEE. The IEEE is the silent giant of technology. For decades, its committees have been responsible for creating the standards that make our modern world work, from the Ethernet cables in our offices to the electrical systems in our homes. Back in 1997, a specific working group within the IEEE had ratified the original standard for wireless local area networks, WLANs. This standard was their masterpiece, a highly detailed document defining everything from how radio waves should be used to transmit data to the protocols for establishing a secure connection. Its official designation? IEEE 802.11. Let's be honest, it's not exactly a name that rolls off the tongue. It sounds less like a revolutionary technology and more like a catalog number for a piece of industrial hardware. To an engineer, IEEE 802.11 was beautiful. It was precise, unambiguous, and carried the weight of a globally respected standards organization. It represented a monumental achievement in communication technology, the culmination of years of research and collaboration. This was the technical bedrock upon which WECA would build its dream of interoperability. Any product that followed the IEEE 802.11 standard could, in theory, communicate with any other. The chaos of the wireless Wild West finally had a rulebook. But as the members of WECA looked at their chosen foundation, they immediately saw a huge problem. While IEEE 802.11 was perfect for the lab, it was a complete disaster for the living room. Imagine trying to market that to the average person in 1999. Picture a commercial, tired of messy cables, introducing the new Lucent device fully compliant with the IEEE 802. 1B. Direct Sequence Spread Spectrum Standard. It would have been dead on arrival. The name was a mouthful of technical jargon, intimidating and utterly forgettable. They knew that if this technology was ever going to break out of the corporate world and into people's homes, it needed something more. It needed a name that was friendly, accessible, and simple. It needed a human touch. The technical foundation was secure, but the bridge to the public was missing. The greatest wireless standard in the world was useless if no one wanted to buy it, and no one would want to buy something they couldn't even pronounce. The engineering challenge was solved. Now, a much different and perhaps even trickier challenge lay ahead: the branding. With the powerful but clunky IEEE and 802.11 standard as their engine, the members of WECA knew they had a marketing mountain to climb. They were selling something that was, by its very nature, invisible. You couldn't see the radio waves, you couldn't touch the data packets flying through the air. You could only experience the result: the magic of being connected without wires. How do you put a name to that? How do you create a brand for something that is everywhere and nowhere at the same time? The task was monumental. They needed a name that could do several things at once. First, it had to be simple and memorable, something people could easily say and recall. Second, it had to sound modern and futuristic, capturing the revolutionary promise of untethered connectivity. Third, it had to be approachable, stripping away the intimidating technical layer and making this new technology feel like it belonged in the home, not just in a server room. And finally, it had to be universal, a name that could transcend language and cultural barriers as this technology inevitably spread across the globe. The leaders at WECA were engineers and executives, brilliant at building circuits and business plans. But they were not branding experts. They understood the immense value of what they had, but they didn't know how to package it for the world. Wisely, they decided to call in the professionals. They turned to one of the most respected names in the business, the global branding firm Interbrand. Interbrand was legendary. This was the firm that had created iconic brand names like Prozac and Compaq, names that became synonymous with their products. Their job was to distill complex ideas into a single powerful word. When WECA approached them, the brief was clear. Give us a name that is catchier than IEEE 802. B. Direct sequence. They needed to transform a technical specification into a desirable consumer product. The team at Interbrand dove deep. They explored countless concepts. Should the name be descriptive, hinting at the technology's function? Words like wave, link, or air were likely thrown around. Should it be abstract, a completely new word that could be infused with meaning? The challenge was to find that perfect balance between something that felt familiar, yet fresh, something that hinted at the benefit without getting bogged down in the technical details. They were searching for a word that could carry the entire weight of a technological revolution on its shoulders, a word that would one day be as common as television or telephone. The stage was set for a moment of creative alchemy that would change the world. Inside the conference rooms at Interbrand, the creative process was in full swing. The branding experts were on a mission to find the perfect name for this invisible force. After extensive brainstorming and market research, they presented a list of 10 potential names to the board members of WICA. Among those 10 options was one that immediately stood out: Wi-Fi. It was short, just 2 syllables. It was catchy and easy to say. And it had a certain magic to it. A subtle, brilliant connection to a term consumers already understood and associated with high quality: hi-fi. In the world of audio, hi-fi was the gold standard, an abbreviation for high fidelity that signaled a premium listening experience. The name Wi-Fi cleverly played on that familiarity. While it didn't actually stand for anything, it created an instant, positive association in the consumer's mind. It hinted at quality and performance without needing a lengthy explanation. It felt both familiar and futuristic. But here's where the story takes its most ironic and confusing turn. Some members of the UECA board, being technically minded engineers and executives, felt uneasy. They were nervous about using a name that was essentially meaningless. Phil Boulanger, a founding member of the alliance, later recalled the sentiment in the room. They did not understand branding or marketing. They could not imagine using the name Wi-Fi without having some sort of literal explanation. They wanted a concrete definition, something to anchor this made-up word to reality. To appease these nervous board members, a compromise was struck. Interbrand had created the name, but the alliance decided to add a tagline, a little explanatory phrase to go along with it. And the tagline they chose was, "The standard for wireless fidelity." This was a pure marketing invention, designed to soothe the board's fears and give the name a veneer of technical legitimacy. It was a clever line, but it was also the single source of a myth that has persisted for over 2 decades. The tagline was so effective that people naturally assumed Wi-Fi must be short for wireless fidelity. The marketing was, in a sense, too good. It created a definition out of thin air that was so plausible, so satisfying, that it became accepted as fact. In reality, the name came first, and the meaning was tacked on afterward as a safety net. The term Wi-Fi was never an acronym. It was a standalone brand name, born from marketing insight, not engineering terminology. This simple, catchy word was ready for the world, even if it carried a small, fabricated piece of baggage that would follow it forever. The name Wi-Fi, along with its memorable yin-yang style logo, also designed by Interbrand, was an immediate and resounding success. It was simple, it was cool, and it was infinitely more marketable than IEEE 802. 11. The public embraced it, and the technology began its rapid march into our homes and lives. But that little white lie, the tagline, "The standard for wireless fidelity," took on a life of its own. It was printed in early marketing materials and white papers, and the media ran with it. The myth became fact. Dictionaries, encyclopedias, and news articles all began to define Wi-Fi as an abbreviation for wireless fidelity. For years, this misunderstanding was the accepted truth. It wasn't until years later that the people who were actually in the room when the decision was made began to publicly set the record straight. Phil Boulanger, one of the founding members of the Wi-Fi Alliance, became one of the most prominent voices in debunking the myth he had a hand in creating. In interviews, he was refreshingly blunt. He explained that Wi-Fi doesn't stand for anything. It was not an acronym. It was a brand name, pure and simple. He admitted that adding the wireless fidelity tagline was a mistake, a compromise made to appease colleagues who were uncomfortable with the abstract nature of pure branding. Boulanger stated, "It was a mistake, and only served to confuse people and dilute the brand. He and others hoped that by explaining the true origin story, they could clear up the confusion. But they quickly learned a powerful lesson about branding and public perception. A good story, even an incorrect one, is often more powerful than the truth. The Wireless Fidelity explanation was so neat and logical that it simply refused to die. It had become embedded in the collective consciousness. People wanted it to be true. The fact that one of the most important technologies of the modern era was named by a marketing firm, and that the name itself was meaningless felt, to some, a bit anticlimactic. Despite the founder's best efforts, the myth persists to this day. It is a fascinating case study in how a brand can become so popular that its origins become secondary to its public identity. The name Wi-Fi had transcended its creator's original intent. It no longer needed a literal meaning, because we, the users, had given it one. Its meaning wasn't in its etymology. It was in the experience it delivered. The experience of seamless, untethered connection to a world of information and to each other. The name had become a universal symbol, proving that sometimes the power of a brand has nothing to do with its definition and everything to do with its impact. The launch of the Wi-Fi brand was a watershed moment. Suddenly, this complex technology had a friendly face and an easy name. Consumers finally had a simple way to identify products that would work together. All they had to do was look for the logo. This led to the creation of the Wi-Fi Certified program, a crucial pillar of the Alliance's mission. Any product that passed rigorous interoperability tests could earn the right to display the Wi-Fi logo. This certification was a promise to the consumer. If you see this seal, it will work. This seal of approval was a game changer. It built trust and confidence in the marketplace. When you went to the store and saw that black and white yin-yang logo on a router, a laptop, or a printer, you knew you were buying into a connected ecosystem, not a dead-end proprietary system. The certification program was the mechanism that turned the promise of interoperability into a reality, and the Wi-Fi brand was the banner under which it all united. The success of the brand was so immediate and so overwhelming that the original name of the organization, the Wireless Ethernet Compatibility Alliance, WECCA, quickly started to feel outdated and cumbersome. The name they had created for their technology had become far more famous than the name of the organization itself. It was like an actor being known only by the name of their most famous character. By 2002, the board made the logical and inevitable decision to fully embrace their creation. They officially rebranded the entire organization, leaving behind the clunky WECA acronym and adopting the name that the world already knew and loved. They became the Wi-Fi Alliance. This was more than just a name change. It was a strategic alignment. It solidified the organization's identity and mission around the powerful brand they had built. The Wi-Fi Alliance was no longer just a group of companies working on compatibility. It was the global steward of the Wi-Fi experience. Their role expanded beyond simple certification. They became the driving force behind the technology's evolution, promoting its adoption, managing its security standards like WPA and WPA2, and guiding its future development. The transition from WECA to the Wi-Fi Alliance marked the moment the technology truly came of age. The Wi-Fi certified logo, now found on billions of devices worldwide, is a direct legacy of this evolution. It's a quiet, constant reminder of that initial promise made by a group of rivals who chose collaboration over chaos, and a testament to the power of a single brilliant brand to unite an entire industry and connect the world. The story of Wi-Fi isn't just about a clever name, it's also a story of relentless innovation. While the Wi-Fi Alliance was building a global brand, engineers were working tirelessly behind the scenes to make the technology faster, more reliable, and more efficient with each passing year. The journey from the early days of Wi-Fi to the powerful networks we use today is a staggering leap in technological progress, and it all unfolded under that simple two-syllable name. It all started back in 1999, with the first widely adopted standard, officially known as 802.11b. This was the Wi-Fi of our youth. It offered a maximum theoretical speed of about 11 megabits per second, Mbps. In an era of dial-up modems, This was blazingly fast, but by today's standards, it's barely enough to stream a low-quality video. This was followed by 802.111g in 2003, which was a significant jump, boosting speeds up to 54 Mbps and making wireless networking a truly viable alternative to wired connections for the first time. Then, the smartphone arrived, and our demand for wireless data exploded. The Wi-Fi standards had to evolve to keep up. In 2009, 802.11n was introduced, a major breakthrough that used clever techniques like multiple antennas, MIMO, to push speeds up to a theoretical 600 Mbps. This was the generation that made streaming HD video and online gaming over Wi-Fi a smooth, everyday reality. It was followed by 802.11ac, which brought us into the gigabit era, offering speeds multiple times faster than its predecessor and better performance in crowded areas. As the technology got more advanced, the names, unfortunately, remained as confusing as ever for the average consumer. What's the difference between N and AIC? Is AICS better? Recognizing this, the Wi-Fi Alliance, in a move that echoed their original branding genius, decided to simplify things in 2018. They introduced a new, consumer-friendly naming system. Instead of the confusing alphabet soup of letters, the standards would now be known by simple generation numbers. 802.11n became Wi-Fi. 4. 802.111ac became Wi-Fi 5. And the latest standard, 802.111x, became Wi-Fi 6. Wi-Fi 6 and its extension Wi-Fi 6E, which uses new radio frequencies, isn't just about raw speed, it's about intelligence. It's designed for the world we live in now. A world where the average home has dozens of connected devices, from laptops and phones to smart speakers, thermostats, and light bulbs, all competing for bandwidth. Wi-Fi 6 is built to handle that congestion efficiently, reducing latency, improving battery life on our devices, and delivering a more stable connection for everyone. From 11 Mbps to multi-gigabit speeds, the technology has evolved at a breathtaking pace, all while the simple, elegant name Wi-Fi has remained the constant, trusted gateway to our digital lives. Now, take a moment and look around you. Think about your day so far. Did you check your email on your phone when you woke up? Did you ask a smart speaker for the weather? Maybe you worked from home, joining video calls with colleagues across the country. Perhaps you're listening to this right now, streaming it from a device in your pocket. Every single one of those actions, and countless others, was likely powered by Wi-Fi. Its legacy is not in the routers or the antennas, it's in the fundamental transformation of how we live, work, and interact. Wi-Fi became the invisible backbone of the digital era. It untethered us from our desks and allowed the internet to follow us from room to room, from the coffee shop to the airport terminal. It democratized access, allowing public libraries, schools, and community centers to become hubs of connectivity for everyone. The impact on our society has been profound and multifaceted. It completely revolutionized the workplace, enabling the rise of remote work and flexible schedules long before they became a global necessity. It transformed education, putting a world of information at students' fingertips and enabling online learning on an unprecedented scale. The entire entertainment industry was reshaped by it. Streaming services like Netflix and Spotify could not exist without the reliable, high-speed wireless connections that Wi-Fi provides. It's the engine behind the smart home revolution, connecting our lights, our thermostats, and our security cameras. It's a critical tool in modern healthcare, allowing doctors to access patient records instantly and even monitor patients remotely. On a personal level, it has reshaped our social lives, allowing us to share moments instantly with friends and family across the globe through video calls and social media. The economic impact is staggering. A 2021 study commissioned by the Wi-Fi Alliance estimated the annual global economic value of Wi-Fi at over $3 trillion, a figure projected to grow to nearly $5 trillion by 2025. It has become a fundamental piece of global infrastructure, as vital to our modern economy as roads and electricity. But perhaps its greatest legacy is how utterly we take it for granted. Like clean running water or electricity, Wi-Fi has become a utility, an expected part of the background of our lives. It just works. Its invisibility is the ultimate testament to its success. It's the silent, unsung hero of the last quarter century, a technology that started as a solution to a compatibility problem and ended up rewiring the entire human experience, connecting billions of people and trillions of ideas across every corner of the planet. So, we come full circle, back to that simple question we started with. Have you ever wondered why it's called Wi-Fi? We now know the surprising truth. It never stood for Wireless Fidelity. That was a clever marketing tagline invented to make a meaningless word feel more substantial. The real story is one of collaboration, of rival companies setting aside their differences to solve a problem that was bigger than any one of them. It's a story of branding genius, of a consulting firm that understood that the future of technology depended not just on great engineering, but on a human connection. The name Wi-Fi reminds us that how we talk about technology is just as important as how we build it. A complex, intimidating name like IEEE 802.11 could have kept this incredible power locked away in the hands of experts, but a simple, friendly, and ultimately meaningless name unlocked it for the entire world. In the end, maybe Wi-Fi does have a meaning after all, just not the one we thought. It doesn't stand for a technical specification. Instead, it stands for something far greater. It symbolizes the moment humanity truly cut the cord and went wireless. It represents the quiet, invisible revolution that has reshaped our world in countless ways. It's a symbol of connection, of innovation, and of the incredible power of a simple idea, both in engineering and in marketing, to change everything. The next time you log on, take a moment to appreciate the journey behind that little symbol in the corner of your screen. It's a testament to human imagination, a reminder that sometimes the most powerful things in our world begin not with a complex definition, but with a simple, made-up word that redefines how we connect. So, what have we learned from this journey? The story of Wi-Fi offers a few powerful lessons we can apply to our own lives. First, it highlights the incredible power of collaboration. When competitors chose to work together on a common standard, they created a market that was exponentially larger than anything they could have achieved alone. It's a reminder that sometimes building bridges is more valuable than building walls. Second, it's a masterclass in the importance of communication and branding. The best idea in the world can fail if it's not presented in a way that people can understand and embrace. We should all strive to make our ideas, no matter how complex, accessible, and relatable to others. And finally, it teaches us to question the things we take for granted and to stay curious about the world around us. A simple question, why is it called that, can unfold into a fascinating story about history, technology, and human ingenuity. I'd love to know what you think. Does knowing the true story behind the name Wi-Fi change how you see it? And what other everyday technologies do you wonder about? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey today. I wish you all the best of health and happiness. And if you enjoyed unraveling this mystery, please consider subscribing to the channel for more stories like this. Until next time.